Sky News has revealed that a top US general privately told Ben Wallace, the Defence Secretary, that the British Army is no longer regarded as a top-level fighting force. Here's what you need to know. The British Army is facing a real crisis. It's not something that suddenly happened. It's been building up over time. The government has been cutting the size of the force for decades now, but it's been from a really large mass. But now you're right down to the smaller numbers. And when those small numbers aren't receiving the right equipment, aren't getting the right training, are living in accommodation that at times is unbearable, don't have the kind of food they might like sometimes in their bases, that affects morale, it affects fighting capability, and that affects capability, the capability of the army to be able to defend the UK and its allies. It's not all bad news for the army. Yes, it's been cut to a small size and is set to shrink even further unless more money comes along. But the government has recognised that more investment needs to go in. There is a plan, a transformation plan underway, but the problem is the timelines envisaged are too long. It takes until the next decade until they actually come into force. And the threat is now, and that's why people are speaking out and expressing alarm. A Tier 1 army is something that the United States has. It's something that China has, that Russia has, South Korea, France. The UK definitely prided itself on having a Tier 1 army. That doesn't seem to be the case at the moment, but it's definitely a status it wants to move back into. The pressures on the army are of course affecting morale. There's been plenty of reporting about the impact of poor accommodation for soldiers. There's also been cost cutting for things like travel and food. And as well as that, you have one of their core functions, training, being cut back as well. So it means more soldiers with less to do and less opportunities to exercise. The army needs to have more money put into it to help it achieve these various plans to transform. It also needs to much better improve the way that it buys equipment. The fact that a lot of its armed vehicles are out of date is because programs to bring new vehicles online have been hopelessly delayed. And then there's the whole technology side of things. The army is changing. It wants to adapt and be able to exploit and enhance their capabilities with technology, but that too is running into problems because of outdated procurement mechanisms, outdated thinking in some cases, and so that's going to take time to fix. People are aware of the problem, but again, it needs money and it needs a sense of urgency and empowerment for the army to be able to sort this out.